It's great to see all of you for Equalize 2024. My name's Nicole Mercier, and I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Managing Director for the Office of Technology Management at Washington University in St. Louis, and one of the co-founders of Equalize. Today marks our 5th Equalize event. Our mission is to bolster entrepreneurship and academic women across the country. We accomplish this by inviting women innovators with early-stage university technology to participate in a 6-month program, during which we equip them with the knowledge and guidance necessary for their startup journeys. Equalize matches each innovator with a mentor, provides entrepreneurship training from a cadre of relevant experts, and creates networking experiences with peers. Equalize has now emboldened over 90 women to take part in the entrepreneurship community and know that they belong in it. In addition to dedicating countless value-filled hours, our mentors have graciously opened their networks to these participants. Like us, the mentors have seen the potential in these women, but most gratifying has been to watch the participants themselves become the biggest advocates for Equalize and for each other. Equalize provides a safe environment to get accustomed to the language and process of the startup world, and that knowledge gained gives each the confidence needed to be more successful in sharing and partnering their ideas. Participants have also consistently marveled at how their mentor is the perfect fit or is able to make top-level industry or investor connections for them in real time on that Zoom meeting. We are lucky to have these mentors and our judges who are committed to the program's mission and vision, and we are grateful to have many of them recommit to Equalize year after year. And of course, Equalize does not happen without our sponsors. A special thank you to our platinum sponsor, AstraZeneca, our gold sponsors, Osage University Partners, Armstrong Teasdale, Mission Biocapital, Mass Bio, Massachusetts Life Science Center, and Wilson Sonsini. Our silver sponsors, Polsinelli, Novo Nordisk, and Fuentech, and our bronze and friends sponsors, Zontogeny, Merck, Silicon Valley Bank, Future Forward, Fish & Richardson, Amgen Ventures, and Sheer Velocity. Due to the generosity of our sponsors, we are pleased to announce that today's overall winners are chosen by the judges, will receive a cash prize of $5,000 and a customized glass award created by Third Degree Glass Studio in St. Louis. The People's Choice winners will also receive a customized glass award created by Third Degree Glass Studio in St. Louis. And with that, we will have Pam Hill from our platinum sponsor, AstraZeneca, provide the introduction for our keynote speaker. Pam, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm happy to be here representing AstraZeneca. As a science-led, patient-focused pharmaceutical company, our innovative medicines impact more than 120 million patient lives annually. But we want our contribution to society to extend beyond this. We aim to make a positive impact on people and the communities in which they live. Our work is delivered through sustainable healthcare solutions that are built upon principles of health equity, inclusion and diversity, and partnerships and innovation. We're proud to support the mission of Equalize to support women academic inventors forming university startups. I'm pleased to present Equalize 2024's keynote speaker, Sarah Fay. Sarah is a digital transformation and AI leader who has leveraged major technology innovation waves to establish groundbreaking new models for the operation and marketing of businesses. Sarah was one of the first participants in the AI revolution as a partner at Glasswing Ventures, investing in early-stage AI-powered companies and helping them to grow. Today, she regularly shares her experiences as a speaker on the topic of AI and generative AI. Among her many positions, Sarah served as CEO of Aegis Media North America, now known as Dentsu, a global media and digital marketing communications company, where she was also responsible for launching and growing significant parts of that business during her 11-year tenure. Sarah served as president of Carrot US and president of Isobar US, the 2 largest divisions of Aegis Media North America, during which time she acquired 6 companies and led the integration of digital marketing with traditional media services during an era when digital marketing was gaining prominence. Sarah is also an active advocate of ESG and DEI initiatives, with a history of working closely with organizations such as Principles for Responsible Investment and All Raise, where she launched and led the Boston chapter from 2019 to 2023. Sarah has received numerous accolades and awards for her accomplishments, such as Influential Board Director of 2019 from Women's Inc., Media All-Star from Adweek, Top 100 Most Influential People in Media from Media Post, Women to Watch from Ad Age, and Fast 50 from Fast Company. Sarah, we're so glad to have you speaking with us today. We'll pass the mic to you.
Thanks so much. And thank you everyone for coming, and to Kirsten and Nicole and Katie and Erica, the team of Equalize, for inviting me to speak on a topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is about getting more capital into the hands of women. There are a number of organizations that spend a lot of time and effort helping female founders to get off the ground, and I have found Equalize to be an excellent one. I'm so inspired by what you're doing here. As was mentioned, for almost 5 years, I co-led the Boston chapter for All Raise, which is a national nonprofit, also with the mission of helping women in the startup ecosystem. And we felt on the Boston team that more is more. So the more events like this and programs like this, and organizations like this to help female founders, and the more you can participate, the greater opportunity we'll have to create that high tide to rise all boats. So kudos to all of you for being here and taking advantage of this opportunity. So being a founder is really hard, right? I was a founder myself back in the 1990s, so some time ago. We did not raise capital, but we had a good outcome. It basically was, I remember each day being different, revelations, challenges. Our wins and losses were like a roller coaster ride. So I'm sure you can all relate to that. And I was part of an all-women team, which was, when I think about it, I feel so lucky to have had that as part of my formative years in my career, because I didn't question whether I was winning or failing or being judged by my gender, because everyone on the team at a senior level was a woman, and many of us had children, and we all felt really passionate about the business. And ultimately, we grew, and that was the important part. We achieved growth on a year-over-year basis, and we exited to a global marketing services holding company, of which I became a part. That was a very male-dominated industry, but I took my confidence from being part of a female team into that very male-dominated world. I had to pitch for capital, and received it to launch one of the very first digital agencies in the United States. And long story short, achieved growth of from 3 million to 100 million in about a five-year period. And I also believe a small group of us really changed the makeup of the whole organization to change its value because of their early adoption of digital. So innovation really played a role. So my suit of armor in that case was achieving my business goals and developing a differentiated position. And that was, that helped to get me, into the ultimately becoming CEO of the North American part of the territory. I took a turn, my career took a turn in 2016 when I became a VC. I joined a firm that was also a startup called Glasswing Ventures that established itself to pursue the coming wave of AI. So that was 2016. Talk about picking a trend. But that gave me for 7 years the opportunity to be a seed investor and to see how decisions get made, and to understand the amount of diligence that has to go into every deal, which is a significant amount. I will say, from the other side of the fence, it's not that easy to find companies that fit your thesis. Most VCs have very specific theses, and they have a set of attributes that they want the companies that they invest in to have, and it's hard to tick all the boxes. So a VC may see hundreds of deals, on an annual basis, but only make a handful of investments. And on a daily basis, they're passing on deals from both male and female founders. I don't think there's a sense of discrimination, but I think female founders are up against a lot. And clearly bias must be playing a role. So the conversation today is about really just understanding the situation out there and trying to turn that adversity into advantage through preparation and awareness. Can we go to the next slide? So let's put it on the table. The numbers are not good. In fact, it's really stunningly bad. And they're in 2023, the funding numbers from institutions to female founders actually went down. So 13.2% of funded startups had a woman on the founding team. That went down from 15% in 2022, but only 7.3% of the capital went to those startups. 2% of capital went to all women founding teams. That actually went down too. It's actually a little bit less than that. It's more like 1.8%. And that means that 92% of funding went to all male founding teams. The other number, 17.4% of female VC check writers are as a part of the VC mix, actually growing from 16.1% in 2022. So I think VCs are starting to get the memo that they have to include women on the decision teams, but it's still not where it needs to be, obviously. So why is this? We have to ask ourselves, because it certainly can't be entirely a pipeline problem, right? I mean, I think that's what you sometimes hear from people. Could you go to the next slide? So some people may have heard about prevention versus promotional questions, and this was a concept developed by Dr. Dana Kanze. She's a professor at the London Business School, and she's a former founder herself, who suspected that women founders were being treated differently than male founders. And she dug into this at the TechCrunch Disrupt competition for startups, where they bring both male and female founders to pitch pitch VCs who hear the presentations and ask questions and give feedback. And she dug into the transcripts of more than 2,000 questions and learned, based on identifying words that were promotional and words that were regulatory or preventive. So promotional words would be, how will you grow? And preventive questions might be things like, how will you protect your downside, or what happens if things go sideways? That 67% of the questions to male founders were promotional, and 66% of questions to female founders were preventive. So not surprisingly, it ends up being a very different conversation if you're answering preventive questions to when you're answering promotional questions. The preventive questions are forcing a founder to talk about the downside, and the promotional questions are giving the luxury to the male founder, in most cases, to expand on their vision and talk about everything that can go right. So not surprisingly, those that were asked promotion questions went on to raise 7 times more than those asked prevention questions. So that is kind of depressing. But if you go to the next slide, there is a silver lining, and that is that founders who responded to prevention questions with promotional answers went on to raise 14 times more than those who simply answered the prevention questions. So this is something to be prepared for. This is the suit of armor that founders need when they're going to battle, when they're going out to raise their capital, that they have to be prepared for this kind of dynamic. I wanted to bring some other voices into the mix, other advocates for female founders and people who are influencers and people who are well aware of this phenomenon. So if you go to the next slide, Paige Hendricks Buckner is the CEO of Allrace. That's the organization that I was a part of. She wakes up every day and thinks about how she's going to change the game, just like the team at Equalize. And they actually, I think, are a good partner out there for Equalize. And so what she says, she believes that storytelling is at the heart of changing the narrative, changing the game for female founders and the way capital flows. And she's also putting a lot of effort into creating more female check writers too, because the idea is that, more female check writers will also lead to more funding for female founders. But what she says is always control the narrative. If someone asks you a question about the risk, answer the question directly, because you don't want to annoy people by not answering the question at all, but pivot to the opportunities, i.e. promotions that demonstrate why you're the right founder and your company is uniquely positioned to be successful. Build your Q&A bank so you're always ready. So tactically, make sure every time you have a conversation, any question that you feel like you didn't nail is something that you can nail in the future. So create a doc with all the questions that you get and write your responses. Update this list after conversations with investors, teammates, etc., so you always have the most timely data and talking points about each topic. Practice responding to this Q&A with advisors, mentors, or teammates. Preparation and practice will help you deliver a crisp response with confidence. So that is Paige, and she, again, is out there every day. I would say they are these days putting more focus on the check writers, but their ultimate goal is to get more capital to female founders. So the next one, if you go to the next slide, is Allison Byers, founder and CEO of Scroobius. I think Allison has actually spoken at an Equalize event in the past, and she's a great example. She's a founder herself, right? Scroobius is a startup, but it's a platform that helps other female founders. And it's a good one for, the founders that, potentially are on this call, because it provides coaching and guidance and content and community for preparing your pitch and making your pitch the best it can be. And they actually create connections to angel investors and VCs that are specifically right for your category of startup. So what Allison, by the way, has, she has a huge voice and following. And she's, she has gone to Washington, D.C., she's really fighting for the audience that she serves, or the customers that she serves. So she says, learn how to recognize a prevention question. Respond, that's a great question. I believe you are asking about, and then finish the sentence by framing their question in a promotive way. Then provide that answer. For example, if you're asked, why wouldn't a competitor just copy what you're doing? Respond with, great question about the competitive landscape. I believe what you're asking is how our strong IP protection will lend to our fast market adoption, and expand with excitement about that point. So that's just an example of turning the question around to go in a positive direction. She also talks about the availability of non-VC capital, and I think that's important for everyone to know about and pursue, because if only 2% right now today of institutional money is going to female founders, it's good to consider all the options. And some of these angels are more likely to invest in diverse founders. And that's increasing. So she says in 2021, 4 million plus angel investors injected 29 billion into startups. And in 2022, it increased to 36 billion. She says, however, significant capital remains uninvested due to poor pitch quality and an irrelevant deal flow. So that makes the point that it's really a matching game to get to the investors that invest in your category and companies like yours, and to make sure your pitch quality is really the best it can be. Next slide. So I'm using Taylor Swift as my inspiration here, because who has turned adversity into advantage more than she has? And the things that I think are important to think about and consider: craft a compelling pitch. We talked about storytelling. As important as the storytelling is the design of your presentation. I actually got a sneak peek at some of the designs of the presentations for today, and I was really impressed. So I think that people are definitely doing that. And make sure that the content, the meat of the content really tells the story of the opportunity and the pain point that exists in the green space that's there for you and your company, and why your team is the best team to do this. I always say, whenever there's a good idea, there's more than one team pursuing it. So it's always important to recognize that there's probably other companies out there, but there's nobody better to do this than you. Keep refining the business strategy. Lots of times I think we fall in love too much with our idea and the way that we've laid it out. And so you have to stay open to the thought that there might be a better way. Is it a big enough opportunity? Is there a big enough pain point? Do you have the right people on the team? Lots of times you'll get feedback from the market. You can't take every piece of advice you get and incorporate it, but you can give everything thought and think about, whether or not you continue tweaking the strategy itself. Build and leverage your network. I can't say enough about this. If you are going to be a founder, you are going to be a networking animal. And that means finding your way to the biggest influencers in your space. Create a dream list of who you would like associated with your company and make them believers in your company. Get people on board who are from your space. They might become angel investors, and they might lead you to other funding sources. They can also help with things like getting you to customers as well. Think about who your advisors are going to be, and then make a plan on LinkedIn and other sources where you're following everybody and getting to know people and immersing in a community. Again, Equalize is a really good way to start to build a community of your people who can help you, but also you can help. And don't forget too that it's a two-way street. You're going to give as much as you get, so you have to also keep open to how you can help other people in your circles. Lift your personal brand, like Allison has done. Write about your topic. Write and speak as much as you can, and try to operate at a higher level than just the pain point that your business is addressing. So I think that everybody can be the star of their category, and think of yourself as a star and get out there as much as you possibly can with your personal brand. We already talked about all your funding sources. In addition to, I think I said, in addition to angels, and some people go with friends and family, but grants exist for certain types of businesses, and that can be a really good way. And organizations have grant funding sources such as the Arthur Rock Center. Maybe Equalize has resources there too. And then finally, be prepared to be resilient. Again, if you're going to be a founder, you've got to be tough. And you're going to hear no again and again. You have to be prepared to pitch in lots of places, whether that's for the business itself, or for funding sources. Think of every opportunity as not just an opportunity to get the funding, but to also get better. And as in Taylor's words, I got smarter, I got harder in the nick of time. Shake it off. And so that's my advice to you. So I'll end it there, and I think that we have time for Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah. You highlighted some terrific ways for us to think about, especially our equalizers today, to think about taking action, though they won't get the questions you were talking about. And it's a perfect way to launch us for Equalize. I did have one question before we move on, and that's about, you talked about your suit of armor and that enhanced your confidence moving into this male-dominated area. You also gave us multiple techniques from different perspectives on what women could apply when they're in the pitch and experiencing that. I wondered if you could maybe comment on how different personalities could play into that. So perhaps if we're more introverted or extroverted, how do you think about personalizing those techniques in a way that is comfortable for you, or like even maybe practicing?
Yeah, well, you have to practice. And I think that the people who seem the most natural and the most gifted in presenting are really the ones who have rehearsed the most. And I think that you can, there's nothing wrong with looking in a mirror and going through your presentation again and again. But look, I mean, what you just said, some people are introverts. It's not their style. They're not going to be the presenters. Okay, somebody has to be. So it might be your co-founder. If that is not your skill, then think about who you're linking arms with. Very few investors invest in a single founder, and they actually like to see people who are a good foil to each other. So, one person is, has a certain set of skills and they're playing a specific role, and the other person is playing, is mopping up on all of the other things that need doing. So I think that also, two in the box. We used to say it's the power of two. Lots of times founders will say to each other, okay, let's divide and conquer. I'll take this meeting, you take that meeting. But in fact, each meeting is more powerful if you actually both go. And it's clear that you complement each other and know each other really well. Like one of the things that I think is important when an investment is made is will this team stay together, and what is our evidence of that? So I think showing the synergy that you have together is a really important thing. And I know that feels like a lot of wasted time, because it would be better if you could just save time by dividing up the meetings. But and in a perfect world, it's two really great presenters. But I think it's okay if you're not, you don't have to dance. I think it's okay if you just show your knowledge. Like, I don't think necessarily VCs are looking for somebody who is, rah-rah, really dynamic, if they really understand the category and they're giving them information that they don't know. So I you can give yourself a break if you're, you don't feel like you belong on stage necessarily.
That's fantastic advice. And I appreciate that. I think our equalizers will appreciate that. And lots of tips that we took away, practical tips, and also just how versatile Taylor Swift is. She can be used in almost any talk, for real. So thank you for being here with us today, Sarah. We're going to move into our pitches, but again, lots of great points for us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we get started with our breakout rooms for our pitches, I wanted to express a few thank yous. I want to thank our committee members who work so hard to enhance the Equalize program behind the scenes. This work is integral to advancing the Equalize mission, creating more awareness, and enhancing the experience of our equalizers. We'll talk more about the work with Equalize and the changes we've experienced and the future of the program during the time between when some of the sessions end early, and also in the panel discussion. but the members of these committees are directly responsible for making Equalize a success for our participants. It's also critical to thank the core of Equalize, our mentors, who generously volunteer their time. A number are returning from previous 4 years, and this year, we gained many new mentors who have added tremendous value to the program. You'll see the mentors in the MedTech, physical science, digital tools, and therapeutics breakout rooms. On behalf of our pitchers, we are extremely grateful for the hours you dedicated, the advice, and the endless Zoom meetings. In 2024, we provided 17 virtual training sessions to our equalizers from a cast of experts around the country. You can see our array of speakers and topics presented here. Many of the topics were expressly requested by the 2024 equalizers, and we're excited to continue providing this rich programming in 2025. We'll also have a video montage covering our in-person day later in the program, but we really would be remiss if we didn't thank the dozens of people who helped us put together a very successful experiential learning day at Mass Bio in Cambridge for the 2024 Equalize cohort. This is the first time we brought all participants together, and it was an exceptional day. We're almost ready to move into the breakout rooms where our 2024 equalizers will present their pitches. Before that, I want to share our judges. We have 14 judges who are experts and leaders in their fields, and you'll also meet them in the breakout room. So judges, thank you so much for being here today. I know we're all anxious to get started, probably no one more than our outstanding pitchers. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to the 2024 cohort because this is their day. You'll note that we have a different number of pitchers in each breakout room. So the breakout rooms will end at different times. Once the breakout room ends, we'll have continued programming back in the main room, leading up to a panel and then an awards ceremony at the end of the program. The main room programming will include a talk on feedback from experienced entrepreneurial women out of academia, a fireside chat with Laura Holberger, co-creation architect at the Bio-Innovation Lab, a video montage of our Equalize in-person day, and an illuminating panel discussion on the impact of Equalize on this, our 5th anniversary. Before we move to the breakout rooms, just some details. We have one breakout room for each industry area: therapeutics, medtech, digital tools, and physical sciences. If you have not used breakout rooms before, you'll find the breakout rooms in the toolbar of Zoom. Look for the 4 squares, click on that, and then the list of breakout rooms will be there for you to join. The breakout rooms will open shortly. If you would like to change your breakout room and hear a different cohort or participant, please select Leave Breakout Room, which will be highlighted in blue, and not the Leave Meeting. Katie Mangles will be here in the main room for anyone who needs assistance with breakout rooms. A reminder that we will be voting for the People's Choice Award. People's Choice Awards will be in your breakout room and will open at the end of the pitch presentation. There will be a QR code and a link provided in the chat in order for you, the audience members, to vote for who you think should receive the People's Choice Award. After the breakout rooms, we look forward to seeing you back here for some activities and our panel discussion, followed by our awards presentation. And with that, Katie will now open the breakout rooms. We look forward to seeing you in there, and good luck, equalizers.